Yo, what it do, NBS crew? It's your boy Thomas, and we have another episode 2 of the Off the Dome show. I am your co-host, Thomas Brown Jr. We'll be joined by Brock Vieira shortly. Got a lot of things to cover today. Last night, we had a beatdown in Miami. And no, I'm not talking about the nightclub. The typical nightclub fight. It was none of that. But it was a beatdown in Miami. We're going to talk about that. Kendrick Lamar dropped again. And we have a couple questions for today. How important is sex in a relationship? How important is it? And lastly, what is the best advice someone has ever given you? We'll dive deep into that on this episode today. Very excited to talk with y'all. But before we go on, I have to talk about today's sponsor. Today, we are sponsored by Fanatics. The NFL season is upon us. It's here to stay for a little while. So why not take an opportunity to go to fanatics.com today and rep your team? Sports apparel, hats, t-shirts, pants, shoes, you name it, they got it. Okay? Visit fanatics.com today and go find your merch to rep your team today. Again, it's fanatics.com. You won't be disappointed. And I promise you, it's worth it. All right? So, now we got that out the way. Let's just get Miami and Baltimore out of here. Y'all early. Good morning. Good morning, Chrissy. How are you? Yeah, we got a different start today. What was that? Last night we had the Bills and Dolphins, and it was something that it was rough to see if you are a Dolphins fan. It was one of those, it got ugly, and it got ugly fast. Very, very fast. I mean, if you had some people in fantasy, then I guess you weren't terribly disappointed. I had Devon Achan, so it is what it is for that one. But that's neither here nor there. Ugly all around for Miami. Yeah. So I was watching the game last night, and I just saw a Miami team that wasn't ready to go on Thursday. And it just kind of bothers me because this is kind of the stuff that we talk about when it comes to Miami, about how they are not equipped to play well against top-tier teams in the NFL. And we just have another example in your own division again. And it's not a good look. It's not a good look. Tua, before he got hurt, was not playing great. I mean, he was just making inaccurate pass after inaccurate pass. And now the offensive line definitely did not help him in that regard because he was getting hurried all over the place. That is very fair. That is very true. I did see that. But Tua didn't help himself either. And the Bills were just physical from beginning to end. And when you're a finesse team like Miami, maybe that's just the way the cookie crumbles. You want to be all finesse. You want to worry about how fast you are. Then when you get into that car crash, it doesn't tend to go very well for you. They ran into a car crash in Buffalo. A physical defense who, might I add, literally just last week gave up 28 points to the Arizona Cardinals. A defense who could not stop Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals on third down to save their life for a large majority of that game. And they were flying all over the place last night. Had a pick six, sacks everywhere. It was brutal. And it was just, I'm watching that game and I'm just like, what does Miami ultimately do going forward? Do we really have to go through this again? They start out playing well, solid. It was 10-7 at one point. And it looked like it was going to be like, oh, well, this is going to be a good game, like we all anticipated it to be. And the next thing you know, Josh Allen happened, and James Cook happened. By the way, I'm quite embarrassed that I did not start him this week. Did not predict him having not one, not two, but 3 touchdowns. I did not have that in my bingo card. Sorry. It just is what it is. I did not see that happening. But that's neither here nor there. And it was one of those cases where I had to ask myself, like, what do we have going on here in Miami? It's now, I understand it's week 2. I'm not gonna put too much stock into it. They're still 1-1 at the end of the day. I understand that. But this is a game in division, a big game in general, that you had an opportunity to show the world that you are one of the best teams in the AFC, if not the NFL. And yet again, at home, you couldn't get it done. I got Brock coming in here, man. Brock, how you doing, sir? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm talking about the Miami and Bills game. Talking about how there is going to be a lot of question marks in Miami, if we're being totally honest, after last night. It was one of those things where it's just we kind of been down this road before, and I feel like it's even worse. With Tua getting hurt again with another concussion after he got the money, I feel like that's where the worst part comes in. I'm like, you mean to tell me y'all found a way to pay this man a lot of money? And yes, it was a lot of money. And he's hurt again. It's brutal. But, Brock, what were your thoughts after watching the game last night?
I have several thoughts. I want to kind of share them with you,
Sure.
Thomas, and with everyone watching. One, I want to wish Tua Tagovailoa the best in his future. I don't know what that holds for him, but
Right.
I really hope that his health is okay. Secondly, why did he slide is kind of my second question when it comes to him. Like, I understand that you're trying to make a play. I understand you just got past the first down marker, but you got to have situational awareness. And you got to know that, one, it wasn't even a truck that was going to fall.
Right.
With intention. All right. But secondly, like, how is it that Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, all these top level quarterbacks that do have the ability to scramble and have scrambled are able to protect themselves and keep themselves safe, yet you seem to be always on the wrong end of vicious hits. That's my second concern. But those concerns, though I care about Tua Tagovailoa the person, and those concerns are valid for that, I think that when it comes to the game of football, and more importantly, the state of the Miami Dolphins, there's a bigger issue at play, and that
Right.
is Chris Greer, the GM, a good general manager? Now, of course, people would say, well, of course, he's a great general manager. I mean, he's helped build a Miami roster that is what had like 3 winning seasons in the past 4 years, went back to back playoff appearances. Mike McDaniel was the first guy to do that for the Dolphins since Don Shula and Dave Wanstead. But then you look at the structure of this team, and up front, they are lacking on both sides of the football. Their offensive line probably is one of the worst offensive lines in the entire NFL. And if we look at playoff caliber teams, they have the worst offensive line. No doubt about it. I don't care about Teron Armstead. As great of a player that he is, he's only one man. And most importantly, he is also the only left tackle, right? And he's old, and he's also aging, and he demands a lot of money. And then you start looking at the rest of the positions, your guard, your center, your right tackle. It's a massive question mark.
Right.
To see like the issues with the Miami offense all stems from the fact that they can't give to it enough time to find guys down the field. Defenses are simply going too high safeties, not letting Tyreek be able to beat them over the top, making to a dink and dunk and allowing the pass rush, 4-man rush to get home. If you are not able to block a 4-man rush, you cannot win in the NFL. And of course, we've seen the investment by the Miami Dolphins, of course, in Tua, in Tyreek, in Waddle, which is to be expected. I'm not criticizing that. But you start to look at the other side of the ball. You had a player in Christian Wilkins who absolutely dominated for the Raiders last week against the Chargers. You don't think you could have had a guy like that on the defensive line that could have been giving opponents problems?
Right.
Instead, who are you replacing with? I'm a big fan of that Zach Ziegler kid, but he has clear limitations.
Right.
Calais Campbell is 38 years old.
Yes.
Like he's not that productive of a player. You have massive investments in Jalen Phillips, and then also the investment you had to go get Bradley Chubb. You give him a first rounder and everything after that, right? And you have this rotating circle of paying corners a lot of money, and then them either not be a part of the team anymore or aging out. Byron, was it Byron Jones? Or was
Byron Jones? Yep.
Xavier Howard. Now we have Jalen Ramsey as the next example of this, right? And then how longer can you sustain this? Also, you have an injury-prone quarterback whose injuries are to one of the most fragile parts of the human, body, and you don't have a competent backup either. Like Skylar Thompson, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Shout out to the Boston Joe Cardozo who brought that up in the chat earlier before I was able to jump on. These are just some blaring issues for the Dolphins that I makes me greatly concerned about them. On the flip end, for the Buffalo Bills, fantastic win. Von Miller, congratulations for him. I felt that this was a game where he was able to get his get back. First time he has back-to-back sacks in quite a while. I believe since his first year at Buffalo. Josh Allen looks spectacular as always. Khalil Shakir is coming into his own as a wide receiver. I thought Dalton Kincaid had a stellar performance. James Cook, what else can you say about him? 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. Absolutely phenomenal performance. Bills, the offensive line held up well. Defensively, they were stout. I really think that from a coaching staff perspective, they're coming into a nice rhythm in terms of responsibilities and, play calling. And it was just an excellent display, especially after such a tough game last week against Arizona. Now, not only do you have first place in your division secured for now, of course, you also look around. You have Miami, who's supposed to be your top contender, now at 1-1 without the starting quarterback for, we assume, an extended period of time, and without a truly competent backup. You also have the Jets, which are, the Jets. So there's not a lot of faith in them. And then lastly, you have the Patriots, who, yes, they won against Cincinnati, but I think that was more of prevalent issues occurring in Cincinnati than the Patriots being true contenders. I'm not saying that the Patriots can't contend for the division crown. I'm just saying it's going to be very hard for them. If you're a Buffalo fan, you're going to be a crowd right now. You have the pathway to another division crown. I think it's very hard to put them off.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like I'm The issue with Miami is that now that you don't have Tua, what now? If you're Mike McDaniel,
You book your flight to Cancun.
Right, do you just prepare already that your season's gonna be over? Like pretty much.
You start watching college football, start scouting players for the draft. All right, you tell the missus, she's gonna have a long holiday at the end of the season with the family. All right, I think you start planning your trips. I think first thing you do, romantic getaway with the missus. You gotta make sure that flame is lit. Second thing you do, make sure you do a vacation with the family. Maybe have the grandparents come to maybe like a Disneyland trip. You know, everyone has a good time. You know what I'm saying? All right, and maybe sneak out with the wife, hit the club for a little bit. Make sure you start some alone time. I think the next thing you do is you start to look at your roster. You start to poke holes in it, and then you start to evaluate college players that can fill it. And then you go and you invest heavily into linemen in your first rounds of the draft. I think the next thing you do after that is remember the fact that you live in Miami, you're a millionaire, and everything's going to be all right. No one really blames you for the situation. But your offense right now looks very predictable, very stagnant. And for a guy that's supposed to be an offensive innovator, I'm not seeing much innovation. I'm just seeing a guy that's praying Tyreek Hill gets open and hopefully get him the ball. And the problem is that teams are allowing Tyreek to get open, and then they're clamping down on him very quickly. And that's why your offense isn't effective. You can't keep pitching the ball outside to Devon A-Chain. I think that he's going to find a seam and take him to the house every single time. You got to be able to put your quarterback under center, be able to run up the gut, but you don't have the linemen to do that. You don't really have the running backs to be able to have a power run game. And these issues, again, making themselves known. And I said this in the chat earlier, and I'm going to say this to the public. Tua's injury is going to expose multiple structural failures in the roster construction of the Miami Dolphins. And if you're the Dolphins, you're praying Tua isn't hurt that much and he can come back. Because as much as he's been criticized in the past, Tua has helped cover up a lot of the mistakes of the Dolphins. And a lot of those mistakes are about to become very visible very soon.
Yep. And this is, I mean, if you remember when they were going through the contract negotiations this offseason, that was one of the things that they were thinking about was his health, which I'm not going to lie, that's a very reasonable reason as to why I am hesitant to pay you $200+ million. But you know, that was kind of the balance of, hey, like, you know, don't get me wrong, we respect you. You know, we view you as a very talented quarterback in this league, but your health is a concern for us. That was really that. It was outside of that, like he was winning games for Miami, bringing in a lot of production for Miami, getting them to the playoffs and things of that nature. Like anything other than his health, you could not really knock Tua for. But then it became, okay, what is it about his health? And now we're back at square one again, where he's dealing with a concussion that he already has a list now. It's not even just, he's had it one time before and that's it. He's had multiple instances, multiple games where he's left it due to a concussion. Like we're back at square one again, unfortunately. So it'll be interesting to see what Miami does going forward. This is kind of biting them in the foot with that contract. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. Buffalo, hey man, you keep proving a lot of people wrong, me included. I'm gonna have to sit up there and be the first one to say that I apologize and I was wrong. Now, granted, you know, it's still Josh Allen, efficient, dependent, for sure, but y'all getting the job done, and I'm starting to see a defense now who's starting to get more and more physical as weeks go on, and that's a very encouraging sight. So, shout out to the Bills for getting the job done. Got a lot of concern for the Miami Dolphins, but that's neither here nor there. So let me see. Is Josh Allen proving he is the guy early? I mean, in my opinion, he's always been the guy. He's been the only thing that's keeping the Bills afloat right now. I ain't gonna lie to you.
I mean, if Pat Mahomes is 1A, Josh Allen's 1B. Also, just want to shout out Christy. I hope you're doing well. I appreciate the love and can't wait to get you on the back of the show very soon. But with that being said, Josh Allen has been that guy for a long time, and I really wish anonymity in the NFL didn't exist, because I want to know the names of those players and those executives that think that Josh Allen's overrated. I want their names listed.
Right.
Like, to say something so boneheaded almost feels criminal. But I'm not saying we gotta lock you up, but I feel like probation,
probation, fines,
community service, that should be their punishment for saying something so stupid. Josh Allen, I think if there's any year that he can win the MVP, I think it's this year. I think that the fact that he doesn't have the star weapons yet to rely on, it definitely helps his candidacy in terms of being the most valuable person. Obviously, it's going to depend on where the Buffalo Bills go as a team, but considering what the media looks for in terms of quarterbacks and MVP race, they look for wins, they look for ability to get it done without superstars, and they look for big numbers. We're now seeing an NFL that has a agenda to have safe quarterback play and is virtually getting rid of the gunslinger. Right. Josh Allen will not be getting rid of anything about his game at all. Let's not take the piss here, right? So he's gonna continue to put up really good numbers. He has a defense that is really, really good. And then the last thing to add to the argument is, once again, he doesn't have a Stephon Diggs or a Gabe Davis. So if he's able to get it done, people are going to give him even more credit than they have in years past. Now, of course, Patrick Mahomes is gunning for his third. Lamar's gunning for his second straight third overall. And they had really impressive performances to kick off the season. Matthew Stafford had a really good performance. And you can even throw Baker Mayfield in there. In a league, and CJ Stroud, of course, but that's a given. But in a league in which a lot of quarterbacks are struggling to hit over 200 yards, he blasted the boss man's Washington Commanders for 289 and 4 touchdowns. So if he can, I'm not saying he's gonna have that week in and week out, but if he can be that consistent in terms of getting over 220 yards a game, at least one passing touchdown, maybe rushing in a couple here and there, limiting turnovers, you never know. Especially in a league in which we're seeing quarterbacks become much more reserved. I still feel that Baker has that wild side in him that can kill you in the long run, but can also be very beneficial if you put him in the right situation. So I think Josh Allen is a guy early, but there's a lot of guys also proving themselves early in the season.
Absolutely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Josh Allen has always been that guy. He's been in that conversation. It's just that, as for me, I will say I did have a question mark about him towards the end of last season with how it ended with his play. But I can still have questions about your play and still acknowledge how great you are. And that is the case with Josh Allen. So, hey, look, man, I got you on my fantasy team, so you definitely ain't going to hear nothing bad from me. Fantastic year so far for Josh Allen for sure. I don't know if y'all know, but ladies and gentlemen, Kendrick Lamar is at it again. Again. Yes, I said again. Wednesday night, during the Rankings Roundtable show, which if you haven't watched it, it was a treat. Give it a look. Let us know what your top 10 is, by the way. Kendrick Lamar dropped on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, 5 minutes and 40 seconds of just straight up fantastic artistry on display.
I think the word you're looking for is sauce.
Yes, sauce or You name it,
Yeah,
he did it again.
Again.
I was listening to that song, and I was like, "Is this like a sign of like this is over now, or this is a sign of more to come?" like I don't. I'm kind of scared. Again, I feel like I've been down this road before. For those of you that don't remember Meet the Grams, when Meet the Grams dropped, I genuinely was concerned for my safety, Drake's safety, anyone that was close to me, their safety. Everybody was getting it. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was gruesome, it was graphic, and it was all by the way of words. Okay. Now, for me, I was listening to that song Wednesday after the show concluded, and I was like, this sounds like a guy who is trying to figure out whether or not he wants to keep this going or he just wants to just take the high road and leave it alone. And honestly, for me, I say, Kendrick, keep this going, because this is good. This is the most I ever heard from you in like the last 5 years, the last half decade. Do this some more, okay? Now, I prefer for it to be more of a not like us sentiment versus Meet the Grams sort of vibe. But either way, more Kendrick is more Kendrick. That was just it was a spectacular song to listen to. And if you're not, it's not your typical, oh, I'm gonna bump this everywhere, like Not Like Us is, where it's a hit. It's not one of those cases. But if you're really into the different variety of rap, then this was the song for you. The wordplay, the different entendres that he hit during the case of the song was spectacular. There was none like it. Brock, what was your thoughts listening to that?
I think it was the reestablishment of one of the greatest artists of our generation. Christy said it herself. Kendrick Lamar is her GOAT. Kendrick's not my GOAT. My GOAT's Shannon Sharp. That's for a different reason. But in all seriousness, you want to talk about a guy understanding his opportunity. To have such massive hits like that over the summer, leading into, of course, being named, as Christy mentioned, the performer for the Super Bowl, and then to also understand, one, the position you're in, but also the controversy. I don't even want to use controversy because that's not the word I'm looking for, but I guess type of disgruntledness with current and former members of Young Money. Not Young Money, Cash Money. One of them. I can't remember. One of the Birdman and his brother do. What they do. All right.
Right.
I think that it's, again, a reestablishment of who you are, what you are about, and why you are the way you are compared to why they are the way they are. And I think that he hit everything out of the park with it. And while others like to make noise in the lurking below, he's rising above and shining to the public masses. And when you have that happening, I mean, what can really stop you at that point?
Right. Yeah. Shoot, man. I don't know. It don't get any better than this. They just not like us. They're not like us. They're not like us.
To see artists continually hit new strides in a long and even prolonged career at points, it's such a blessing, especially in the rap game. I mean, I'm not trying to turn this into something sentimental or anything like that, but I feel like I can't open up my phone without seeing some rapper that has unfortunately fell victim to violence. And unfortunately, because of that, we don't get to see great artists, one, develop into being as great as they can be, or getting the exposure that they probably should. But also, once they get it, it's so hard for us to see the growth of maturity and eventual change in their style. So I feel like we're witnessing what is a rare moment in time in a section in which it shouldn't be that rare. I think that's what also makes it so special.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, public service announcement. Kendrick, do this some more. I love it. We love it. More of it, please. Okay. Now, I want to get to the $1 million question here.
Talk to me.
Just how important? How important? Not just is it important, because we know it's important, damn it.
Very.
Very. How important is sex in a relationship? Oh boy! Oh boy!
Listen, how personal you want to get? Because I'll get real personal and real honest with you and the viewers. But I'm only willing to get as personal as honest as you're willing to get.
Hey, look, man, it's off the dome. You know we don't sugarcoat nothing around here. Well, you know that. So of course. It just we might have to make it not too egregious for the kids that might eventually hear it down the line. But shit, I'm with it. Go for it, Brock.
Sex in a relationship is not everything. It cannot be everything, but it is a baseline for everything that's happening. I don't have to get into that. So of course, sex can't be everything. If sex is everything, the relationship can't last. Nothing can last on sex. Sex is a activity in a moment. It's not sustainable at all. That's why there's something called a finish, right? So that's what you can really track it, right? Like start, like foreplay, and then obviously you get this, that, climax, finish, fucking you hate each other again, then you forget that you have kids, what's it called? My boy Mark Wilson, he put some work. I think he forgot that that's not the case. This plays like 13,000 kids. Shout out my boy Mark Wilson. Just love you, dog. Just want to expose you a little bit. Now he's one of the best guys I know, but he also knows how to make sure kids are able to come into this world. But that being said, like if you focus on that, the relationship can't last clearly. But it depends. Like if you're in a committed relationship, are you having sex to having sex? Are you having sex to make love? Are you having sex because you're in the moment? How many times are you in the moment? And these are all things that reflect into every other aspect of the relationship in terms of how much quality time are you guys spending together? How stressed are you because of the relationship? How much stress are you bringing into the relationship? How much of your personal needs are you prioritizing over your lover or your friend or your partner? How much of the financial situation is your financial situation affecting you in any which way, in ways in which you never get to be in the moment because you're always worried about tomorrow, and sex is a great revealer because all those characteristics and traits and things that I've talked about, they all translate into the bedroom. So like I said, sex cannot be everything. Sex isn't everything, but it details how everything is going. And that's why it needs to be a precious part of a relationship because it truly is one of the benefits of the human condition, right? But unfortunately, because it just feels so good, we oftentimes abuse it to satisfy personal needs instead of truly getting the complete fulfillment that it can provide.
Right. And it's just the best way that I could put into words of how important sex is in a relationship is you never want anything in any aspect of life to be overbearing. You don't want anything to become the law of diminishing returns, where we've been down this road over and over again. It becomes a repetitive cycle over and over and over again. The same thing with sex. It cannot be one of those cases where, like, oh, it's a part of the routine. You wake up, you eat, sleep, boom, bam, sex happens every single day. Sex is the aspect of the relationship that defines the intimacy that's being engaged between one another. 2, it establishes the love or the respect, depending on what type of relationship it is, that you have for one another. And 3, it is a moment in time where, depending on how committed the relationship is, where either time stands still and it doesn't matter what's going on around you, or it is a moment in time where it is a staple that defines the relationship as a whole. And the great thing about it is that when you're in a relationship that warrants where sex could provide both in that relationship, that's when you know things are going well. And that's when it becomes important. But I would be remiss for anyone that will sit up there and tell me with a straight face that sex is not important at all. You. And if you're going to try to sit here and tell me that that's the case, you are lying to me.
Damn right. I should have thrown a neck. I'm sneaking out the back. I don't give a shit. It's my house. I'm leaving.
Right. You damn right.
I'm going to get myself a Gatorade.
A Gatorade? Nobody armor, man.
I'm going to go to the parent drop off at the local like middle school, try to hit on single moms. I'm gonna bribe the security guard with donuts so they don't think I'm a creep.
Good job, Brock. It's almost like he had a whole plan for this shit. I love it.
Got to.
It's an aspect that, like I said, you don't want it to be overbearing, but for it to not be a factor at all in the relationship is something totally different. Like, I'm trying to think, could you imagine being in a relationship with someone and y'all just like not having sex at all?
Yeah, it's called having a friend.
It's called having a friend. Exactly. Yeah. Like, come on. No, I'm sorry. That's just not how that works.
No, it's not how that works at all. And I want to ask you a question, man.
Sure.
You and I have touched on this personally, so I'm going to try and censor what I say because some stuff is private between us. But you've also been public about it last season when you were with your ex, right, in that very committed relationship. Do you feel that there was a correlation between your relationship going sour and then that having that affect the bedroom, or did the bedroom affect the relationship going sour, or was there any type of correlation with that at all?
Ooh, I think because of how shitty the relationship dynamic was, determined the impact that the bedroom had, if that made sense. Like, because everything around the dynamic of the relationship was so sour and it was so shitty, and just the relationship during that moment in time was shitty, I couldn't enjoy anything else, and that included the bedroom. So even if it was great or it was good, I didn't really have the opportunity to say, like, oh, it was solid, it was decent, it was whatever. Like, I can't enjoy any of that whenever we're not doing that. You're being an asshole. Like, I don't want to use, you know what? Fuck it. If you're being a bitch, it's hard for me to like cooperate with you. It just is. So,
bro, nothing wrong with the word bitch. It just depends how you say it, right? And if you're referring to a woman as a bitch, you're wrong, and you need to get to therapy because that's internalized sexism and misogyny. But if you call a bitch, well, that's just calling it's calling a bird, it's calling a person. And if you're a bitch, you're a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's all I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
like when you miss, like when the dynamic of the relationship is toxic and it's heavy and it's a burden on you, nothing becomes fun. And I mean nothing. It can't be fun because everything else becomes a job to do. It becomes you have to push yourself to have the desire to have sex, to keep having sex, and things of that nature. Like, you have to always push yourself to force yourself to be happy and try to make it work because, you had that commitment. You try to instill that consistency as much as you possibly can, have that standard there. But when you're not in it, you're not in it. And that's in the bedroom and that's in the relationship. And in my case, it was one and not the other. So
and there's so many factors that play in terms of the monetize your sex. And I think, what's the right word? The emphasis on women having an opportunity to join the workforce has directly contributed to a lesser amount of sexual activity within a relationship setting. And here's why I say this. Well, first off, I want to say that women in the workplace is something that needed to happen for a long time, and it continues to need to happen. This is not a criticism of it. This is just an observation. But when we look back at, like, let's say the 60s and the 50s, and even into the 70s, probably into the 80s in some places, and of course until now in the United States, and in the world. I mean, women in the household were essentially prisoners of their marriages, right? Which means that they were essentially sex slaves to their husbands, unfortunately and gruesomely, and just once we start to see women get to the workplace, that allowed them to obviously generate money, that we had a push for them to finally get credit cards, without having a husband's signature, have things that make them more independent, which is all positive things I want to just continue to emphasize so no one misconstrues my words. We're seeing that typical nuclear family housewife dynamic start to fade away. And in this new era, we're starting to have career-driven people within a relationship structure, especially in this economy where you do need multiple incomes to support, a house or an apartment or whatever.
Right.
With that being said, because there are so many fields of interest and also an emphasis on people going to college, we're seeing couples of variety genders or sexes or whatever you want to call it have different schedules. For example, I work for typically Monday through Thursday, 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. at my day job. And of course, I have all my other projects here at Team MBS Media, Ramswire, so on and so forth. So my schedule is really picked up. My girlfriend, she is a school teacher. So she's at work from like 7 o'clock to about 2:30, 2:45, which really, so during the weekday, we have 15 minutes in the afternoon when she comes back and I leave for work to see each other. And then when I come home, she's still sleeping and she doesn't wake up until later. So we have half an hour at best to really see each other. And then remember she's got to get ready for work, and I also have to get ready for work at these times as well. So you're really limiting your window. I think that's something we're seeing across relationships nowadays. And I think that's what's also contributing to a lack of enjoying the sensitivity of sex, because it sometimes feels so rushed because you don't have the time to truly enjoy yourself and enjoy one another.
Yeah, you hit it right on the target on that one.
Thank you, sir.
And it was, it was definitely well said, because that's really the reality of it, is that, when it becomes, it should be the other way around. That's weird, because it should be the other way around, because of y'all being away from each other, being at work, both of y'all being at work and things of that nature, like it should make sex that much more impactful when you do it, because it's like, oh, it's been so long since we've seen each other. This is our time we get to spend together, and let's put on the best performance there is. Like, that's usually how it is. But like you said, usually it's the other way around, where because of the factors around the relationship, and it may not necessarily even be the relationship itself. It could be a solid relationship, and there's just still not that time available to do anything else.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah. And then you look at the big careers you want to get into, right? Medicine, business, things of that nature. Those typically aren't 8-hour workdays. So you're putting in 10s, you're putting in 12s, which is contributing to that. But also, that's so much less time that you're spending in the household, which means on your days off, right, and it's times when you should be relaxing, you should be enjoying just time in general with one another. You're stuck having to take care of chores you weren't able to get to in the week, errands you have to run that you were able to get to, things like that. And that just continues to chip away at your time more and more and more until there's not time for sex anymore, and then boom, a decrease in the quality of the relationship.
Right. So, but does not change the fact that sex is very, very important. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise, because if they tell you otherwise, they're lying.
Or they're having an affair.
Or they're having an affair. That is true.
Yeah. That's probably bad too.
Just saying.
She's probably a different race than you. Remember that.
Look at you, Brock.
Just stirring the pot. Just stirring the pot. Yeah.
Also,
and back in 1982, your daddy had an affair with your secretary, and that's why you have a half sister out there that you don't know about named Mildred, or Constance, or Abby,
or Admin,
or Ad as an addition to your family.
Oh my God!
And your mama knew about it because your daddy asked her to raise the child because the baby mama left and went to Kansas or Canada, whichever one was closer.
Whichever one was closer, yep.
And she said no. So Mildred actually went into the foster system. But because you wanted to do a DNA 23andMe last Christmas, all right, she found you because y'all linked up on that little link thing. And now some of those issues that was buried back in 1995, all right, 10 years after the actions that happened, all right, daddy finally got out of the doghouse. Now he's back, all right? And he's got heart problems, so he really can't afford to sleep anywhere else but his bed. You killed daddy because you 23 and beat him. But more importantly, he killed himself because he did not value the value of sex in a relationship. That and thus ends the lesson.
Bravo, Brock. I did not pay him to do this, y'all. I promise you. This was strictly him. And I love it. I love it so much. Lastly, before we get out of here, man.
Yeah, daddy got some freaky pornos on VHS.
VHS. Start trying to figure out if the different wires are working.
Facts.
Oh,
you gotta rewind the tape, which this shit still work. Okay, I accidentally record an episode of Power Rangers over it, so it's just fucking. It just goes straight from like a guy and a girl meet, and like the guy's a plumber and the girl's like a housewife, and then boom, like 30 minutes of Power Rangers SPD, right? And then you go back to the video and she's just getting round in her ass, like this. That's
who is this guy?
What? I'm just talking. This is off the dome. That was on the dome, and I can't want to come off.
Oh my God! Well done, Brock. So before we get out of here, I want to ask.
How about dome? I watched a video of John F. Kennedy getting domed in Dallas in like 1963. He got popped right in the head. Yo. Like, holy shit! Like that brother didn't have a chance. Like God damn.
Not at all.
Sorry. As a video I just recently saw. Sorry, continue.
No, you're good.
Sorry. As a movie I watched, it's called LBJ with Woody Harrelson. The shit was ass. The wonder it was free. Fuck it.
Yeah, what were you thinking?
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours of my life I'm never getting back. What's your last?
So the last thing we got here before we get out of here is obviously life throws a lot of curveballs. Yeah. There's a lot of different highs and lows that you go through. A lot of successes, a lot of failures. And for some people, if not a lot of people, go through life without having a whole lot of guidance or a lot of people encouraging them or giving them advice. So we're going to take that opportunity to share with you the best advice that we have received that has helped us in any aspect. So whether it's professionally, personally, that's gotten us to be who we are today. So what is that for you, Brock? What is that advice that you've gotten?
So I have several pieces of advice I'd like to share with y'all today. This first one comes from my father, who heard it from his coworker, who's kind of a funny guy. Well, there's two of them. There's two of them actually. So I'll start with the first one that comes for you in the workforce. Mm-hmm. The first thing you do when you work overtime, take a shit. That's the only way in history or in our humanity that you can get paid time and a half for taking a dump. So go drop a log whenever you're on overtime or double time, and especially on holidays. Load up on laxatives on holidays, so you get triple time. If you're on overtime on a holiday, that's triple time, and if you just blast in the toilet. Secondly, this goes for both men and women. Never be the pivot man in a circle jerk. Why you agreeing that you got experience in this?
Look, man.
Were you the pivot man in a circle jerk?
No. I know people who are though.
Hold on. Kind of who?
Hey. Look, man.
No. Who do you know that is a pivot man?
I want no problems. I want no problems. But no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Next piece of advice: if your dad isn't supportive of you, that's because your grandpa probably drunkenly beat the shit out of him.
I mean, I know that. But I feel like
yeah, that's a dark one, isn't it? Yeah, I'm always wondering sometimes why some of them male relatives in my family were the way they were, especially some of the older ones and the grandpas, that generation. Yeah, it's because their fathers were alcoholics. Yeah, remember that. If your dad doesn't believe in your dreams, that's because his dad beat the shit out of him growing up. No, write that down. If you ever wonder why there's any mean man in America, it's because their dad beat the shit out of him. Beat the absolute piss out of him from age 0 to age 15. All right, then he started lifting weights and now he was all that. He gave his dad a concussion back in the summer of '86, and they were never the same. All right, that's where we used to be whole as a country. We could punch our dads right in the fucking throat, and no one would bat an eye. I wouldn't punch my dad. I love my dad, and he was very supportive. All right, he's one of that few exceptions because my grandfather was a jackass. All right, my grandfather, till this day, is probably burning in hell. That son of a bitch. But that's not the point. The point is, my dad's the exception. Your dad's the rule. All right, and that's why he don't fuck with you, because old grandpa used to blast his face in back in the day.
Well said, Brock.
Yeah, that's why you can't
Well,
stand the smell. That's why you can't stand the smell of Jack or attend live sporting events because of what Dad used to be like. Yeah, that took a that. Okay,
that took a turn.
I gotta share this with people. My grandfather was a dumbass. Like, back home in Hawaii, he would take my dad and my brother to the movies. Not my brother, sorry, my dad's brother, my uncle, to the movies. Right? And they would just walk in like anytime. Like, they would be like halfway through the movie, they'd watch the movie, right? Like, finish the credits, go through the commercials, then rewatch the first half until they got back to the point in which they originally saw that they leave. All right.
Why?
I'm because my grandfather's a dumbass. That's why. Because he was an inconsiderate, selfish prick who died alone. That's why. Like, come on. So, remember. Last piece of advice I would say. Use protection. Like, stop having babies with people like that piss you off. Like, it's not good for you or the baby. They're gonna grow up to be resentful. All right. Yeah, that's kind of about it. Honestly, like, so real quick, remember, don't be the pivot man or circle jerk. When you're on overtime, use the toilet. Our grandfathers are a generation of assholes, and so give your dad some slack. Unless he's a dick, then fuck him. Had last lesson: stop having kids with people you hate. Like, it's really hard not to. Like, if y'all want to bone so badly, use a rubber. That's why they exist. They were trying to figure this shit out back in the days of Hammurabi, how to make condoms, and like we've had like over 20,000 years of experience. Like, it doesn't feel the same. You know what also doesn't feel the same? Getting your wages garnished. That don't feel nice either. You know what does feel nice? My wages, because they don't get garnished. Because I'm not a dumbass. All right. So just keep that. Thomas, are your wages garnished? No. That is nice.
Let's keep it that way. It will always.
Think about it. If your wages were getting garnished, you wouldn't have made that move. You'd be stuck at your baby mama's house, having to listen to her first baby daddy clap her cheeks while you sit downstairs playing Mario Kart. Is that what you want?
No, that's not what I want.
You want to hear number one baby daddy sound like Shannon Sharp, who was sounding like a dude that just got done running sprints. All right. While you're walking to the kitchen, you're gonna make yourself a little Kraft mac and cheese. All right. Baby daddy number one, get it. You know what I'm saying? Now, pow. He rolling the dough. You know what I'm saying? And you just gotta sit there and listen while that microwave just spins. And spins your mac and cheese. And just, that's what it would have been like. You have kids and people you hate. All right?
Thank you for telling me that I dodged a bullet without telling me that I dodged a bullet. I'm so proud. Thank you so much. I feel so accomplished.
You should be, honestly, because there are people living that life right now. All right?
That's right.
Do you really think they want to finish till the mac and cheese finishes while they're, being able to getting, her stuff? No. You know what he's about to do? He's about to go down to his job that he hates, and his boss is a dick. All right? And he's going to have to tolerate that for 10 hours. And out of that 10 hours, all he's going to bring home is 3 hours of pay for 10 hours of work. Why? Because taxes takes out these, and then garnishment takes out one, and then the rest of these. All right? That's lame. No. And also, the kids still needs things, so bangles. So, and also probably this, because rent. So this is all you got. And that's even lucky. That's lucky for you. That's your lucky.
You ain't wrong, though. You ain't wrong.
Wait till you add baby mama number 2. You gonna see how expensive things get. You gonna see. And then a motherfucker like me walks in, right, using your money to Postmates me Subway. All right.
Oh, that's brutal.
But you know why? Because I wore a rubber.
Why?
Because I wore a rubber. That's right. How does it feel that your wages took me to Buffalo Wild Wings? How do you feel that I enjoyed salt and vinegar wings on your dime?
Right.
Damn right. Damn right. I'm a parlay hit. You gotta make a parlay. You got no money. Because you had sex with people you hate. Don't do that.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Don't try and best friend your way into a girl's heart or cat. Alright? That's the most pussy move ever.
I agree. 1,000%.
I'm just saying, like, don't. Be confident in yourself. And if you're not confident, use your phone to be real confident when you text.
Right. Look at you. Look at
Right.
you.
Right,
You messed around and gave extra advice on top of that. Who would have thought that? For me, I would say that the best advice someone gave me was, it's better for you to be humble so that we have an opportunity to learn versus acting like you know everything and have it all together and have the expectation that you know everything and have it all together. Because I don't know how many times I've seen a lot of people make mistakes because they chose not to be humble in that moment. And literally that's all it took was for them to put the pride aside, put the ego aside, and be like, hey, you know what? I can take the L on this one. All right. I'd rather have me have the L and be able to learn from my small mistake versus me trying to tell you that I know everything and I know what to do, and then having the expectation of having to know what to do, and I end up falling short. Because when you fall short and you giving people the expectation that you know what you're doing, that is what fucks you up the most. The absolute most. Another one is, and this is what applied to me professionally, is hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. Kevin Durant said that, and it really stuck out to me because it shows you that there's a lot of people who have talent. There's a lot of people who are gifted, but if you're not going to put in the hard work, if you don't have the work ethic to be productive over and over on a consistent basis, then it's never going to pay off. It will never pay off. So work as hard as you can, and you end up doing more than those who are talented than you, that have more than you, who have more opportunity than you, who are more capable than you, just off of your hard work. It goes a long way. In the workplace, that's kind of what I use to hold on to when it comes to doing different things at work. And you know what, man?
What's up? Talk to me.
The piece of advice that someone gave me was, sometimes it's better to listen. Be quick to listen versus being quick to respond. One of the best pieces of advice that someone's ever given me.
That's great advice right there.
And it was literally because of the fact that, like, we miss out on a lot of important context and conversation, or just in general, because we want to try to respond so much. We always want to have something to say when something happens. That we don't take a step back and just be like, let me just listen and see what all is going on before I say anything. When I'm having a conversation with my girlfriend about something, I am going to be quick to listen versus always responding. It goes a long way. Conversation improves when you are quick to listen and you're less eager to respond. Because I can respond all day long. Every time that Brock says something, I just respond. And there will be no substance behind it. But if I take the opportunity to say, okay, let me process, let me take in what is being said, so that way I can have a proper way of responding, then that just made the whole conversation amongst two people a lot more enjoyable, a lot more easier to digest, because it's not so much of a tennis game. It becomes more of a football game. A tennis game is back and forth all the time. Every time somebody says something, this is going to be the response. Response here, response there, response here, response there. In a football game, you got drives. Now, they could be short. Don't get me wrong. They could be short. They can. But those long drives can go a long way. Hey, I have my opinion on X, Y, and Z. This is how I feel. Okay. All right. Well, in my opinion, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. Versus, oh, I feel this way. Oh, well, you feel that way. I'm like, nothing gets accomplished when you have that type of conversation in general. So it's just imperative that to be eager to listen versus being eager to respond. And trust me, in relationships, in the workplace, and life in general, you will go a long way off of that. I promise you that. So this has been the second episode of the Off the Dome Show. Host Thomas Brown Jr., Brock Vieira. Brock, thank you so much for being on here. As always, man, it's always a pleasure. And follow Team MBS Media on all social platforms. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. We'll be here every Friday. Okay? So, and this is our new start time, by the way. So we'll be here. We'll be locked and loaded and ready to go. So check in for more. Give us a shout. We have our ats here on the screen. If you want to give us a follow on our platform, on our social platforms. And lastly, join us.